have to do a bit better in that regards. As I said, you know, again, Kai Havertz, it was him against Man United. Fulham, it was Saka, and there's many a time. Tomiyasu did one last season, but from that mistake's been made, I just feel there's several other points we need to do better. So I think it's the players, man, to answer your question, my guy. I think that's a good question. I think it's that. I think even the fact of, for me, Zinchenko was probably one of the most switched on defensively, with the greatest of respect to him. If I'm saying that about him, then I expect a lot more from other players, man. But shout out to Gabriel. As much as I criticize defending, if Gabriel didn't read what's going to happen, then we're looking at this game in a completely different light, really and truly. So I'm not too sure, man. Let's get on to Kai Havertz, man. Where you lot at with it now, really? Because although it's only been 4 games and, you know, every week a new analysis thing is drawn, I do think on one hand, he's being scapegoated. He is being harshly treated. But on the other hand, I don't want to keep talking about watching games again, defensive metrics, pressing statistics, and all of these things before we talk about improvements, man. Where you lot at with Kai Havertz? Hey, madam, I'm even shy again, man.
I just feel like I don't want to cut man up, innit?
Nah, man, I'm just talk when you got something to say.
Yeah, I think like, yeah, I mean, I've been disappointed, like, in the last 2 games with mistakes that he made on the ball. I think, like, in the Fulham game, he misplaced a pass and nearly led to a goal as well.
And he didn't back it.
I think he definitely needs
shooting boots, man.
Yeah, he needs to sharpen up. I mean, the shot that he missed early on, like, I mean, you know, like, to not even like make contact with the ball, you know, like, slightly worrying. But I do think there have been other good things that he has done in the games that have been good for us in the final third, like mainly winning the ball back.
For someone who doesn't know what you're referring to, what would you specifically
like the pressing
taking?
part of our system. Huh?
I said, like, specifically for someone who disagrees with you when you mentioned there's other good things he does. What do you specifically mean in relation to Havertz?
Yeah, I mean, like, his pressing in the final third. There have been instances where I've noticed that he wins the ball back well high up, which obviously is a big part of how our attacking system works, hitting people on the counter that way. But I think, like, the weight of his pass in a lot of situations has been off. And I don't know, like, that might come with, like, time as he gets more familiar with playing with the players he's playing with. But it's something he needs to definitely improve by, you know, and I think it leading to a goal today, or, well, against Man United, it could have been costly, you know, and you know, we can't ignore it just because it wasn't, you know. So, yeah, I mean, I think there is a lot of room for him to improve. But yeah, I think there have been some better parts to his game as well.
What I would say, just to add on to that, like what he's done well and quite positive, which was what we most worried about, is defensively. I think he's done well defensively in counter, as Gooner King said there, in counter pressing. I don't think we've looked weaker in that part of the pitch without Granit Xhaka, which is what a lot of fans were worried about before that. But yeah, the issues that we've seen, of course, is in the final third, and that's the reason why we paid 65 million for him. We wanted someone who is much more comfortable than Xhaka to give us a better goal and assist output in that area, because it's more of a role where, you know, he's not going to be on the ball dominating and then building up in our possession. No, because Odegaard generally does that a lot, and we've got Zinchenko in there, Declan Rice, etc., Saliba, all a part of our build-up play and progression. We just need to get him firing in front of goal. He needs to be more aggressive with his runs into the box. He's got good movement. I've heard a lot of fans speak about that as well, but it's not convincing enough. And it's saying you have to put that ball through. You know, sort of like what Haaland does for Man City, where they give him no choice, but you have to try and play that ball. And if not, then you're going to get criticised for not playing those passes. So that's one thing with him that I think needs to improve, is just being a bit more confident, man, going in front.
You're right on the 2 late comers, man. Thoughts on Havertz, man. Let's go. Before we go with Lee, let's go with Northside. He's making his debut, man, and I can see him fixing up his face. I know he might not be as nice about Havertz, man, but again, this is an all-inclusive platform. Get your opinions off, my guy, in relation to Kai Havertz and actually Arsenal versus Man United, because I actually don't know what you and Lee think about their game, man.
Now, listen, big up to the panel. I will have to say I completely disagree with everything that's just been said circling Kai Havertz. Let's just start it, yeah. First
Someone
of all,
get the popcorn,
Kai Havertz, yeah. Kai Havertz. I wasn't a big fan of Xhaka, yeah. And even that filo da puta in Xhaka gave us more than Kai Havertz. When I'm hearing people justifying Kai Havertz with his defensive stats, I thought that's what we got Declan Rice for. Yeah, that's what we got Declan Rice for. I don't care about your defensive stats. £65 million, yeah, isn't no low budget. Yeah, he's our third highest signing. I'm expecting results. He's coming. Everyone always says, "Oh, players need time to bed in." He's come from Chelsea, so I'm not hearing none of that. This filo da puta is not good enough. I'll tell you what. This is. I'm going to explain why. I'm going to explain why. Yeah, because at the end of the day, yeah, I didn't rate Xhaka. I'll tell you what Xhaka offered that Kai Havertz doesn't offer. Xhaka would run with the ball, go forward, sometimes give you a Xhaka boom, yeah? In terms of going forward, Xhaka was okay, yeah? Just don't make him do any defensive work. And going forward, we saw what Xhaka was bringing in the final third. We didn't need to talk about defensive stats, how much he's running, XG, scan rate, all this nonsense. We didn't need to talk about
scan rate.
Yeah? This is what the Arsenal fan base come out with, yeah? When a baller's a baller, you don't need to, because we don't use those metrics
Sadly,
to justify Martinelli. We don't use those metrics to justify Saka. So I'm not hearing any of that. At the end of the day, he's an attacking player and a midfielder, and he's completely ghost in that midfield. And it's fine to call it out. Do you know why? I was calling it out when it was Iwobi, and this fan base. Oh no, we have to get behind Iwobi. The guy was dead, bro. And ultimately, would anyone take him back?
Iwobi catching strays for no reason. Man, just eating jollof. He's catching strays.
Bro, I don't understand what it is, yeah, with this fan base. And I'm not saying that this is you guys' angle, but let's just call it out. We've held on to Holding too long. We held on to Nketiah too long. We've held on to Cedric too long. There's been so many players that we've seen week in week. They're not good enough. So let's not move it or try to over-justify this player. Havertz is not a great player. No one can tell me what he's great at. And when you're bringing me defensive stats, then why didn't we buy him as a CDM and didn't get Declan Rice? We would have saved, what, 40-odd million pounds? Because he was cheaper than Declan Rice. Nobody really rates him. So let's just say it as it is. He's not offering anything. Pre-season, people justifying, oh, Kai Havertz, he's tall though, he can header the ball. Pre-season game against Man United, has one head, yeah, and puts it over the crossbar. He's not techie. This filo da puta is one of the most shocking failures da puta that I've seen on a football pitch. I don't care what no one is telling me, bro.
All right, playing devil's advocate, Northside, yeah? Playing absolute devil advocate to you, Northside.
Bro, how
4 games in.
We scored 2 goals.
I hear that. Four games in, do you think he can never justify his price tag or convince you 4 games in, Mr. Havertz?
I didn't rate Ramsdale, yeah. This is the thing, yeah. People think opinions can change, but we need a prolonged evidence on it. When Ramsdale came into the club, I didn't rate him, yeah. He gave me a great season, so the way I look at the player changed, yeah. But not just 1-2 games. Fabi Vieira's doing very well. I've been cussing Fabi Vieira. I've been calling him all sorts of imports.
Ain't that your countryman as well? Stand by the brother, man.
He's produced. Yeah, but the level is not about just producing for 1-2 games. We've had this from Eddie Nketiah 2 seasons ago to get top 4. Yeah, he scored a brace against Chelsea, and Arsenal fans were happy when he got a contract renewal. But ultimately, with 10 games to go, the guy went missing. And there's numerous players at Arsenal that will give you 1-2 good games. No, bro, it takes 38 games that you need to be at the top level for us to win the league. So at the end of the day, if we're supposed to be evolving, how are we evolving with Kai Havertz? We have regressed from last season. Last season, we had creativity from Xhaka, creativity from Odegaard, creativity from Saka, creativity from Martinelli, creativity even when Trossard was playing out of position. Because we were playing such great football, we even had creativity there. We had creativity with Zinchenko. This manager's now playing Kiwior out of position in certain games. Havertz isn't giving us half of what Xhaka gave us. Odegaard is looking worse than what he was looking last season. And the only creativity that we're getting is from Saka and Martinelli. A Saka that's been burnt out, played 85 games in a row, and a Martinelli, yeah, why is it that we had creativity all over the pitch last season, but this season we only got our wingers that are creative? This filo da puta, I'm sorry, this manager, he don't win me a major honor. Sack this filo da puta, I don't care, bro. The standard is to win the league. He's regressed.
Right. I was going to ask you, King, we're going to get to you, and Lee, we're going to get to you, but you just mentioned sacking Arteta Northside. Explain yourself. Do you believe in Arteta? Do you not believe in him? Would you sack him right now? Where's your honest thoughts, man? I've never had you on the channel before. Might as well get it all out.
Well, all of it's, I got the receipts on my channel. That's a great thing about my channel. Northside.
Subscribe to all the Mandem, by the way, and all their platforms.
On anything that anybody be saying. So at the start of the season, all the Arsenal fans were predicting that we will win the league. We bridged the gap. Remember when we won the Community Shield? We bridged the gap. Yeah, predictions. We're going to win the league. So I've been saying we ain't got enough. I've been saying this manager ain't making the right decisions. So if that's your prediction at the start of the season, then don't move the goalpost. And this is not just one or two people. This is the majority that I'm seeing. I'm seeing the big influences within the Arsenal community. So when you're putting that kind of prediction, cool. End of the season, that's the standard. That should be the standard. And if he doesn't win it, he should be sacked.
Bro, so if we don't win the title, you're sacking Arteta?
Well, why not? Has he not had long enough? Has he not got the money?
Hey, I'm just here to ask the questions, my boy.
We're no longer getting onto the Cronkies. Yeah, I don't like the Cronkies, but we're no longer talking about the Cronkies. Why? Because
I don't. To be honest with you, I don't think we could. I mean, we can criticize the Cronkies, but I think in the last few years, we all see how they run how they work their club models. They've given Arteta money. Any praise or success indirectly falls with them, but any failures, it's with Arteta and indirectly. I do, if I'm honest with you. I don't think the Kroenke thing can kind of be wasted. You say he's bad vibes. Everybody's allowed their thoughts. Everybody can be proven wrong. Listen, allow all of that. Lee, I've had you here for a while. You're hella silent, man. What's your thoughts on the Man United game as well, man? Before we crack on with everything else, man. We've discussed Havertz now.
Listen, man, shout out to my guys, shout out to my guy Northside, bro. Man, see him at Carnival, enjoying the salsa thing, bro. Listen, man, shout out. It was a good day,
man, they were running with the Barbies and that.
Hey,
I was just on the wall, just praying, man.
He was with his girl, man. He was with his girl. He was a good guy. He's a good guy.
Yeah. Everyone here is good guys. If there's any galley out there watching, it's all entertainment. I was blind. I didn't see nothing. Let's stay with the football before people get wrapped up, man.
Yeah. But you know what? I'll be honest with you, right? It's a hard one, isn't it? Because the Havertz thing, I you can see from both sides. I think everyone will make great points about, you know, has he been a flop? Has he not been a flop? I think the only thing I'll go back on anybody who kind of has their real negative vibes about Havertz so far is you gave the perfect example of Ramsdale, for example. Now, you've got to give it a bit of time. For the 4 games he's been in here, he's not been good enough. All I will say is, if Ramsdale's been able to prove you wrong, we can't go too quick. Whether you don't like the manager, whether you don't like players, you got to give it, because you'll be making the same mistake. Now,
I wish you cut them luxuries for Smith Rowe. I'm just saying, but go on.
Once you finish landing, I'll reply to that.
But you know what? And again, my thing is, everybody knows it's pointless me going around in circles. Everybody knows I didn't want Havertz from the get-go, so it's pointless.
Now, let's be real. Nobody wanted Havertz in the nicest of way. Timber, Rice, not really. Unless you're Mikel Arteta, nobody could see how Havertz was improving Arsenal. But I guess that's why.
I don't want Havertz. You know, like I'm not someone that you know, like is back in park with his game because I wanted him there. Like, like he's here. Like, you know,
my only thing is though, like I just feel like people do scapegoat him in games. They're looking at certain things that he's doing or not doing and saying, oh, well, like, yeah, he's not, like, you know, I feel like there are points in games where he is doing something well and people won't mention that, but they will mention all the negative. Now, for example, Man United, if you rewatch the game, I thought he wasn't as bad. I know he wasn't great, but I don't think he was as bad.
No, I agree. You're just left wanting more with Havertz, really.
He should have scored. Now, what is it we're going to do? Now, if he had got, because people are saying they want goals, they want assists. So what are we saying? If he still had the same bad performances, but got 2 goals or got 2 assists, then, you know, people would have still said, what is that good enough? So how do we move the barometer? If he had got the assist against Martinelli, that's Martinelli's fault. If he had scored the goal against Man United, okay, that's his fault. Would your optics have completely changed? And that's my only thing. Like we have to judge it on one thing. If it's performances, we're looking at performances. If we're looking at goals and assists and GA, then we look at our numbers. That's what we look at. So for me, I just think that's where I think a lot of people, it's not an agenda, but I think people just need to really be a little bit more balanced with what they're saying. And it's not against nobody. I'm just talking in general, because ultimately the guy isn't as bad as what people are making out. He's not been great, but he's not been as bad. So I actually agree more with Northside London. I do think that he's, you know, this whole thing with he's come in and he's meant to be the difference maker. He's meant to be the person to bridge the gap. And in truth, he actually probably looks like the person who's going to make us lose the league at this current moment in time. If we had to pick one player, I would probably say it's between Ramsdale, who maybe, you know, his kicking hasn't been as good. And also, I would say Havertz, because he just hasn't fitted in like a glove so far. If you had to choose 2 players so far who may look like they're not going to help us to win the league, it might be one of those 2 players. Doesn't mean they're crap. I'm just saying if we had to narrow it down. But for me, I'm just looking at it and I'm saying It's 4 games. And I'm going to say Saka has been poor all season. I'm going to say, listen, I love Saka. Saka's been poor.
He's not been amazing, but
He's not been poor, but yeah.
Saka's been
poor, blood. Poor, blood.
He's not been all right. Yeah,
but he ain't been what he's been doing, but poor, bro.
Yeah, okay, but I'm talking. Okay, even if I change the word and I say he's not been to his normal standards, let's just say that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, fine. I'll change.
But really, what player has? Because if I'm real with you, on the 4 games I've seen, respectfully, Eddie Nketiah is probably one of the best performers. Exactly. So no knock on Eddie Nketiah. That tells me everyone needs to back up the idea. Surely.
Exactly. But okay, look. So even someone just said, "Are you just?"
Declan Rice as well.
Thank you for
No.
Put that back up. I need to see that in a circle. Saka's got 2 goals and an assist. But has he been amazing? But what has he been? People will start using the stats. So that's my point. Back to Havertz. If Havertz got stats, people will be like, "Oh, he's been poor." But ... So I just think that people need to really stop with the agenda. And look, Saka's got better money in the bank, so 100%, and he's got a great goal against Nottingham Forest. And can you remember one of those bloody assists was a corner? Come on, let's not do that.
That's hating. That is one hating comment, Lee. Man said it's been a corner. I'm like, bro, what's the beef? Because Saka can't even take corners consistently, so I kind of rate him for that one there.
I wanted to say something though.
That's some hating stuff, Lee, man.
There's always this narrative of Arsenal fans, yeah. Let me tell you something about prejudging players too early, yeah. Let's go on to the list since we're judging players too early, yeah. What happened to Cedric? What happened to Tomiyasu, El Nene, Lacazette, Sonogo, Iwobi, Lokonga, David
That's
Luiz,
it. That's harsh throwing Tomiyasu in with them, man. There, man.
Yeah.
How many men am I naming off? Yeah.
Did you see Tomiyasu against Germany?
Yeah. To be fair, come off the bench against United, well, man.
He was one of the best players for Japan against Germany.
Yeah, you can't throw Tomiyasu with them, man. There, I can't lie. The other names I hear it.
Internationals and don't play well for the club. I'm not hearing none of that.
You can't say Tommy ain't played well for us, man.
Bro. I
definitely agree with most of the other names, Northside. I just think that one was a bit.
Cedric shit. Better them names they said shit, but Tommy's calm, man. Allow him.
Yeah, he's saying some people are judging it too quickly. All these players that I'm talking about, they weren't good enough. At Arsenal, we got this thing that, give it a chance, give it a go. And as we continue to not be cutthroat, we lose out on winning leagues. Yeah, that is the problem. This is not a crash.
I hear that, Northside, but playing devil's advocate, could you really say Arteta's not cutthroat? Because Xhaka fell by the wayside. Obviously, Aubameyang fell by the wayside, and there's a few other players. I agree with what you're saying, but playing devil's advocate, can you really accuse Mikel Arteta of not being cutthroat? Smith Rowe was playing on a regular basis. He's lost his spot.
Leno.
It's not consistent though. It's not.
Raya's breathing down Ramsdale's neck now. Timber if fit. That's bad news for either Zinchenko or Benjamin White, or maybe one of the centre halves. Gabriel found himself on the bench.
He's not being consistent. He's not being consistent. Havertz, if you're telling me that this manager's judging people by performances, yeah, Havertz should not be starting.
No. When we look at Havertz, I agree. I think it's getting to that stage now, and this is just me, where you might have to try something. He might have to come out the firing line and we go again. Where I don't think that's going to happen is statistically, we've only dropped 2 points. I'm not saying this is to put things rosy, but we've won a Community Shield. We've won a top 6 game. Everything's kind of been ticking with Havertz. And I think the difference with some of the names you said in comparison to Havertz, rightly or wrongly, that's Arteta's guy, innit? He signed him. His neck is on the line sort of thing. And I think Arteta probably internally at Arsenal is probably looking at the side of the game that we don't necessarily want to waffle about, the pressing, all the metrics that people think about to kind of help Kai Havertz. I think we're in that scenario where we have to try something else. But saying that, internally, in terms of this new system and new look midfield, Havertz is his guy, really. I don't necessarily agree with it. I was of the belief where if you bring in Havertz, and everyone apart from you is on my platform, I said, I want another midfielder. You can have your project Havertz, but I want another midfielder. And I look at it now, Fabio Vieira is breathing down people's necks. Smith Rowe's not going to get a look in. Partey's injured. So there isn't too much more to be said, really and truly, with it. And I don't want to keep waffling about the other aspects of Havertz's game, because I do agree in that he is Premier League proven. He has a wealth of experience, and we do need results. The better we get, the more quote unquote cutthroat we have to be. And with Havertz, we've got no get out clause. He's on big money, signed for big money, on a long-term deal. We can't really finesse this one sort of thing. So I'll be interested to see what he does beyond this 4-game mark.
You know what the weird thing is, yeah? Like this time last season, we were asking the same questions of Fabio Vieira. And in the last 2 games, he's come off the bench and made the difference. But the thing that we criticize about Vieira is like, is he physical enough? Can he win those duels? You know what I mean? Can he be physical? And usually I'd agree, look, Havertz is an attacking player. I agree, Northside. I want to be judging him on his attacking output.
And even
the
away
input
from the
he has on the
statistics, I
attacking
just want to see
team,
Havertz
and it
grab
hasn't
the
been
game by
enough
the
over
balls.
the course of 4 games. I'm not, you know, I'm not disputing that, yeah. But the other side is important to how we attack, because our attack relies on us winning the ball high up. Do you get what I'm saying? So that is one impact that it does have on our, on playing the high line and on our ability to counter attack in the final third. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's not all bad, but I agree we should be judging him on, you know, his aerial threat, like his ability to sort of help us attack, you know, and the input that he has on the attack. These are things we should be judging him on. And if we are judging him on that, he hasn't done enough. I can see that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you know what it is?
I can't even argue with that. I can't
I have this feeling, yeah? I can explain it very, very quickly. Last season, yeah, we went out of all the cups. This season, he can't throw away the Champions League. Last season, playing our strongest team week in, week out, the best we could do is get second. This season, we've regressed in our style of play. We are now carrying Havertz through games. We aren't looking very creative. We're going backwards. This manager at times is making mistakes that we used to judge making late decisions. And ultimately, when people are telling me that the bench looks better, no, it doesn't. With Arteta, Havertz is a starter, Rice is a starter, which means the bench is more really the same as last season. We've got Kivio on the bench. We've got Fabi Vieira on the bench. We've got Nketiah on the bench now that Jesus is back. We've got Trossard on the bench. And remember, we didn't win the league. So at the end of the day, everybody can say, oh, we still got the points. Well, we're not learning as a fan base because we disregarded that we needed to do a lot of business last January, and a lot of people called it a 10 out of 10, even though I could see holes in the team. Just be happy we're 8th, yeah? At the end of the season, everything that I was concerned about came and bit us in the ass. The season before that, oh, we're primed to get top 4. We haven't done enough. We haven't got the players that we need to go over the line. No. Just be happy. We're going to get top 4. We bottled it to Tottenham. And this goes all the way back to the last time we won the league. So when I'm looking at things, it's because I can see things before it comes. It's like playing Fortnite. You see the storm. You know the storm is closing in. Get your guns and start legging it. You don't need to be in the storm to realize the storm's coming.
You see, Northside, though, you see the problem is, though, right? And this is my only thing where I think football fans need to understand, and I've always kind of held this in my mind for years. No 2 seasons are the same. So what happened last season, it doesn't mean next season is going to be, you know, you add one player and that's the missing piece. Now, Liverpool did it, but that's an anomaly. It doesn't happen like that. So back in the day, I think most of us would agree the football, the strikers were better, you know, the quality of footballs were better, but they got less points than the Man City's team of 100 points. Doesn't mean that they're any worse. So no 2 seasons are ever the same. No era's the same as another era. So when we keep talking about, you know, where we look at with Arteta and how he has to do something this season because he did something last season, it just doesn't work like that. Man United, they finished second. The following season, they didn't finish second and they got rid of the manager. Yeah. So it was and I'm not saying last season was a false position by us, but I do think last season, if we're being objective, I think last season was worse than anything that could really happen this season, because it did seem like everything was colluding for us to kind of get into the position to win the league. Now, I just think, look, you look at the bench. I disagree. I do think the bench is stronger. I think some of the players. I do think the players are stronger.
Nah. The bench is stronger. The bench is stronger. Like the bench is
100% stronger, man.
The bench is stronger. Come on, lads.
If you weigh up like the aggregate of like the impact of Rice, if Timber hadn't got injured, I mean, you got a glimpse of him in the Charity Shield game, what he did to City.
English Super Cup.
You know, that was just unfortunate. But you know, like even the Deadwood we got rid of. Like, listen. You know, Northside, I'll add some players that weren't good enough. Holding, got rid of him. You know what I mean? Pepe, he's gone. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of like trimming that they done to the squad that I think makes it stronger anyway, because these lot they weren't contributing, so they might as well be gone. Do you know what I mean? We got rid of players we needed to, and yeah, I think Rice has made us stronger. Timber, when he's fit again, is going to make us stronger. And Raya, I mean, a keeper of his quality.
Oh, it's bad news for Ramsdale. Good news for us Arsenal fans, innit? You got a Spanish goalkeeper breathing down your neck.
So
if the squad is stronger, if the squad is stronger, like you lot are saying, because people are saying, "Oh, season to season."
The key topic was bench. Key topic was bench. If we're talking starting 11, that's where I differentiate. The bench, I believe, is stronger. Starting 11, again, if nobody saw nothing about Timber and you showed a 5-second clip of him, I think many Arsenal fans would say you can see what he adds. We can all see what Declan Rice adds. Havertz was the one. Anyone that's been on my channel, you know, for the last few years or this year, I've been very passionate on midfield. I hope it works for Mikel Arteta. If not, he's going to have to hold that one. And kind of adding on to what Lee is saying, that's kind of what I was articulating in the previous supporters club we did, where I said, I do think not that, you know, at the end of the day, we were second for a reason. We won their games. I don't think it tells the full story. I do think internally within the fan base, there's a degree of complacency that just because we came second, we're the second best team in the league, which again, I can't disagree if you think that. I can't disagree if you don't. And I think there's a lot of things to mature. Personally, I think the biggest thing that will cost us is our naivety in relation to game management if we're not going to have the season, which I'm sure one of us would like to have on this platform, really and truly. So Arteta's going to have to eat that, man. Moving on with things, you know, someone mentioned Pepe. Where are you at with Pepe? Obviously, he's moved to Turkey. Are there some of you that would have kept him, at least as a little wild card off the bench? Do you think he could have had a look in this season?
No, and the reason being is because I know Northside doesn't like the defensive aspect of the game for your attackers, but Pepe offers you nothing defensively, and that's where your strongest part. You know, your team's only as strong as its weakest link, and defensively, Pepe is not good enough. I remember that Arsenal game away at Aston Villa where Leno made that big save towards the end.
Pepe was trying his best to shag us then.
Literally that. You can't do that. You cannot have a player within the squad who's not going to be able to provide in the bare minimum, which is what we require, which is what we're going to ask for. If Arsenal are going to have a good floor and going to compete for the title, and when they're not performing at their best, at least as you want DG, defensively be one of the best teams, we're able to shut teams out. You're going to need every